What do weight loss and productivity have in common? At first glance, they might seem like two entirely different challenges, but the truth is they share some core principles. And if you're an online business owner, coach, or course creator, juggling your time and energy between business, family, health, and everything else on your plate, you're going to see some surprising parallels today because I'm sharing the 7 lessons that losing 80 pounds taught me about boosting productivity, finding balance, and building unshakable habits for both business and life. Stay tuned because that's coming up next right here on Own Your Calendar. Welcome to Own Your Calendar, the go-to resource for online business owners, coaches, and course creators who want it all: a profitable business and the time and energy for yourself and the people and things you love most. I'm your host, Stephen Box, and I'm here to help you build the systems and habits that allow you to escape the chaos and start living life on your terms. Welcome back to another episode of Own Your Calendar, brought to you by Unshakable Habits. I am your host, Stephen Box, and today we're talking all about the lessons that I learned from losing 80 pounds that I've been able to apply to my business, and specifically how to be more productive. Now, if you've never heard my story before, I'll give you a little bit of insight here very quickly. 2009, 2010, there was a window between those 2 years of about 10 months in which I lost 80 pounds, and I've been able to keep that weight off ever since. Now, what's really cool about my story is I did the whole flexible dieting thing before anybody else was even talking about it, before it was even a cool thing to do. And it wasn't that I was just so far ahead of my time, as much as I would love to think that. I was just really stubborn, guys. I was very hard-headed. I wanted to prove that you could lose weight without cutting out your favorite foods. And I did. I was able to take these things I'm going to talk to you about today, and they helped me to lose that weight while still eating hamburgers and tacos and pizza and all that good stuff. And I've been able to take the lessons that I learned from that experience and apply them to my business. And that's really what I want to share with you today. But hey, if you're someone who is actively trying to lose weight and you're struggling, you're going to get some bonus points today because you're going to hear me go through a lot of these parallels, and I'll be explaining a little bit of what I did in that weight loss process as well. So let's jump into these. Number one, you have to create consistency, right? Having sustainable habits is super important. Now, when you hear the word consistency, it's very easy to think, no duh, Stephen, I know that I need to be consistent. But I want to challenge here for a second, because consistency is something that all of us know we need to do, but it also is something that having coached people over the last decade, I've learned that we're not very good at for the most part. And this shows up in a couple of different ways. So when we talk about consistency when it comes to weight loss, it's things like, say, maybe going on a strict diet, eating super well Monday through Friday, and then just binging on the weekend because you've been depriving yourself. You've been using all that willpower. You've been telling yourself, on the weekend, I'm going to have a treat. I'm going to have a cheat meal. And in business, it might show up as, I've got a deadline coming up. I've got this opportunity that fell in my lap. I have this thing that I said I was going to do. I need to work really hard to get this stuff done. But we had opportunities to work on it little by little to be ahead of the game, but we waited and we did other stuff, and now we're panicked, now we're rushed, now we're overwhelmed by everything that needs to get done. And so this was really one of the first lessons that I learned, kind of inadvertently, to be honest, because like I said, I just wanted to prove that you could lose weight without cutting out your favorite foods. So how was I going to do that? The only way I could think to do that was I had to go from getting a double cheeseburger to a single. And maybe sometimes I'd have to get a grilled chicken sandwich. Or maybe sometimes instead of a baked potato, I would get fruit, instead of getting French fries, I would get fruit or I would get a baked potato. And instead of getting soda, I would get water. And it was the consistency of making those small changes that helped me to actually lose the first 40 pounds. I lost the first 40 while still eating fast food every day. And what I've learned is when it comes to my business, there are things that I'm really good at that I would love to spend all my time doing. And then there are things that I'm not so great at that are not my wheelhouse that I would love to be able to avoid. Eventually, your business gets to a point where maybe you can hire somebody out to do some of those tasks that you don't want to do. But for a lot of coaches and course creators early on, you're the whole team. You can't afford to hire out for somebody. And so that becomes very challenging to do. And it's easy to put those things that you don't really want to do off. All right, so that's number one. Number two, set clear, achievable goals and track your progress. Now, when you hear me talk about setting clear, achievable goals and tracking them, I want to be very clear. This does not necessarily mean that you have to create a SMART goal. I know SMART goals are all the rage. I'm personally not a fan of them for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to go into right now. But when I talk about setting clear, achievable goals that you can track, what I mean is there should be absolutely no hesitation when someone says, what's your next step? You should automatically know. You should be able to tell them what that next step is, exactly what it's going to look like, when it's going to take place, when you're going to measure it next, and how are you going to measure your progress. If you're not doing that, you're not going to be successful. So for me, when I was losing weight, I had a rule. I would check my weight once every 2 weeks, and only if I hit a plateau longer than 2 weeks would I actually make any changes. That was very clear in terms of how I was going to track it. And then in terms of what was I going to do over those 2 weeks, I'm going to make whatever change. So if I'm doing double cheeseburgers, I'm going to do single cheeseburgers this week. If I'm doing a hamburger every day, I'm going to say, you know what, 3 days this week, I'm going to do grilled chicken. Or maybe I'm doing a supersized fry, I'm going to do a medium fry. And even though these are like small changes and they're not huge, they're not even like the best options, they were still clear, they were achievable, because I wasn't ready to just at the moment go from my supersized fry and double cheeseburger to a grilled chicken sandwich and a baked potato. I wasn't ready to do that day one every day, right? Or I wasn't ready to say, oh, let me get a salad, because quite frankly, I hated vegetables. And so when you start to look at clear, achievable goals, the achievable part is also super important, right? It's got to be something that's realistic. What are you actually willing to do, and what are you not willing to do? So when we look at the business side of things, it's the same concept. Am I going to post on social media? If so, what does that look like? What kind of content am I going to post? How often am I going to post it? How am I going to track the success of that? Am I going to do podcasts? Again, what topics am I going to talk about? How often am I going to publish? How am I going to measure the success of that revenue? Am I going to do YouTube? You get the idea, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It needs to be clear, it needs to be achievable, and it needs to be tracked. All right, number 3, prioritize your time and efforts. For me, when I was losing the weight, I knew that it was going to be important for me to be in a calorie deficit in the beginning. That was the most important thing. Yes, in an ideal world, I'm eating healthier foods and I'm getting nutrients in and all that good stuff. But I wasn't there. Mentally, I wasn't ready for that. And so I prioritized finding ways to cut the calories down in the beginning without starving myself. Okay? That was also very important to me, not to starve myself. When it comes to business, it's so easy a lot of times for us to get distracted with things, and I'm guilty of this myself, right? I still have to catch myself doing this. It's so easy. You go to comment on a client's post, and the next thing you know, you're watching cat videos. Don't act like it's just me. I know you do it too, right? And I love designing. Man, I'll open up Canva to make a cover for a podcast episode, and next thing I know, I'm over here like designing logos for fun. It's a sickness, people, I tell you. But I kid. But you have to be aware of those time wasters, and you got to make sure you're prioritizing your time and your effort on those high impact tasks, the ones that are going to drive the most significant results for work, for your health, for your time, everything, right? It's got to be high impact tasks. Fourth thing I learned is the importance of managing your energy, not just your time, right? But we just talked about managing your time by prioritizing that time and effort, but you also have to manage your energy. Part of that is recognizing your natural energy patterns. I'm a night owl. I'm not very much of a morning person. So while some people really prioritize a strong morning routine, my morning routine, it's decent, it's adequate. But for me, my midday routine is where I get most of my stuff done, because that's my natural energy state. And when I was losing the 80 pounds, like I said, I made sure I wasn't starving myself, because I understood above all else that if I starved myself and then I asked myself to go exercise on top of that, and then I also wasn't sleeping particularly well, that I wasn't going to have the energy to perform. I wasn't going to do well at work. I was probably going to get fired because I hadn't started my business at the time. I'm still working in retail management at the time. So now I'm going to go get fired from my job. And that's just how bad, right? But you can also apply this when it comes to work. And this is a little bit of a meta conversation, because the way you manage your energy so you can be more productive is by fitting in exercise. It is by getting more sleep. It is by providing your body with the nutrients that it needs for energy. And if you're not doing those things, you're not going to be as productive. You're not going to be as focused. You're going to be unfocused. Your brain's going to be cloudy. You're not going to be as sharp as you could be, and you're not going to get as many things done. None of that is any good. Number 5, build a support system. I will be the first one to tell you, I don't know if I would have stuck with it and lost the 80 pounds if it were not for my wife, who was super supportive. Now, understand there were times where I got mad at her for holding me accountable. Not going to lie. But I knew she cared, and that motivation was very helpful for me. And I have found that in my business, it is the same. If I don't have mentors and coaches, if I don't have other people that I'm checking in with, having accountability partners, if I don't have all of those things, it's very easy to fall off track. Having a support system, whether you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to build a business, or really and honestly just anything in your life, super important. Number 6, embrace setbacks as learning opportunities. This was a huge one, because I told you earlier that when I was tracking my weight loss, one of the big things I did was I said I would not make any adjustments unless I plateau for more than 2 weeks. And that's because I understood that change takes time. But sometimes it's not just about waiting for the change. It's not just about being patient. Sometimes you have an honest setback, something that really throws you off. And it's easy in those moments to give up or to just get shiny object syndrome and to go chase after something else. But what I did was every time that I would hit a plateau, and this happened about 6 times during the course of my 10-month weight loss period, there was about 6 times I hit a weight loss plateau. And every time that I did, it was an opportunity for me to sit back and go, what's changed? Do I need to take my calories in a little bit more? Do I need to increase my exercise a little bit? And I would test things and I would see what would actually work and what was moving the needle for me. And I use the exact same principle when it comes to business. When things are going, especially when things are going well, and then they stop going well, I immediately start going, okay, what's changed? Did I get out of alignment? Did I get off track? Did something change around me? Some external factor change? What exactly happened and how do I adapt to it? Because if you just take it as, oh no, things have stopped working, what's going on, this is a failure, it's very easy to get down on yourself. But if you view everything as a learning opportunity, it's very easy to bounce back from it and be like, okay, what's the next thing for me to do here? And then number 7 is eliminate distractions and temptations. And I probably could have honestly switched 6 and 7 here, but it's the way I wrote my notes. That's what we're going with. But eliminate distractions and temptations. I love ice cream. Like, I seriously, to this day, if you put a gallon of ice cream in front of me, I can probably eat the entire carton in one sitting. No problem. And I understand that about myself. So in order for me to lose weight and even now today maintain a healthy weight, I don't put a gallon of ice cream in my house. I will actually go get these little teeny tiny that are like, I think they're like toddler servings or something. They're so small, right? I can like literally finish it off in 1 minute. But they're these little things. I think Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's both have them. But they're just these little things of ice cream. And I only get one. I can't overdo it, right? Because I've eliminated the temptation by only giving myself this little bit. And since I only have one, if I want another one, I have to get in the car. First I got to get dressed. Then I got to get in the car. Then I got to drive to the store. Then I got to buy it. Then I got to bring it back home. That's a lot of work. I'm not doing that for that little thing of ice cream, right? But if I had a whole gallon of ice cream in the house, whole different story. And when it comes to running your business and being productive, it's the same thing. I have all the notifications on my phone turned off. I have email notifications turned off. I have social media notifications turned off. I have do not disturb settings on my computer. I've told friends, do not call me, do not text me, do not message me during this time of day. I have set windows in which I do client communication. I have really gone out of my way to eliminate distractions and temptations. Speaking of temptations, if you say, for example, you want to sit down and focus on writing, I have a laptop that has and this actually is a tip I got from Jonathan Goodman over at the Online Trainer Academy, if you guys are familiar with Jonathan. I have a laptop that I have a word processing program on that is not connected to the internet. I've disabled the Wi-Fi on it. And so all I can do is I can open this document program and I can start typing. Now I can turn the Wi-Fi on and upload the emails when I'm done with it, but while I'm writing, there is no internet access. I can't be distracted. No notifications can pop up. I can't just slip over to Facebook real quick. Everything is completely blocked off. That helps me to be more productive. Eliminating distractions and temptations, excellent advice for weight loss and for being more productive. So guys, that is my 7 lessons that losing 80 pounds taught me about productivity. I hope y'all got some tremendous value out of that. If you would like to take the next step, what I would encourage you to do, and there'll be a link down in the show notes for this, is book a free habit audit with me. This is an opportunity for us to sit down, talk about your daily routines, the habits that you have in place, and maybe you've heard some of these mistakes today in this episode. Maybe you're making some of them. Maybe some of these are lessons that you need to apply. You're not really quite sure how to do it. Book that free habit audit. Let's actually have a conversation about it. And again, the link for that will be below. But if you did get great value out of this and you want to learn more from me, I would encourage you also to follow me on my YouTube channel. If you just go to YouTube and type in at Unshakable Habits, that's UNSHAKABLE habits. Also, next episode, we're going to talk about the 7 surprising ways that we procrastinate as business owners without even realizing it. And some of them actually masquerade themselves as productivity. So you guys are not going to want to miss that. But until then, this is Stephen Box reminding you, as always, that today is a great day to escape the chaos and start living life on your terms.